and all the things. Hockey romances, they just keep pulling me back. This is Shiver by Crea Reitan. One of my favorite parts about this book is that it's not player-to-player hockey romance. We have Egon, who is a player. Again, Egan. You know what? I read it. It's fine. He is failing his classes. His coach gives him a card, and that card is for Rakesh. Rakesh is a PhD student at the same college. Rakesh is brilliant. Also a super sassy gay man. And his pastime when he gets bored and horny is to seduce straight men. Now, obviously, they're not straight if he eventually seduces them, but I'm going to call it closeted queer men or unaware queer men, but he calls it seducing straight men. And he meets Egan at the request of his uncle and goes, you know what? This dude is so hot. I'm going to hug 2 puppies with one arm, is a nicer phrase than murdering birds with stones. So they start tutoring, and Rakesh is, or Rake, they call him Rake is his nickname. He is brilliant. He helps Egan pull his grades up. They build a connection. They spend a lot of time together. He was literally failing 4 classes, so they needed to. They form feelings for each other. It isn't just Egan falling for Rake. It is Rake falling for Egan, and that was fun because Rake just, oh, I don't care about anyone. I can fucking leave, blah, 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 blah. And then freaks out when he realizes how much he cares for Egan. Also see some of these tropes that are often associated with women play through these 2 men. Egan is devastated by this breakup. Absolutely devastated. Crawls into bed, doesn't get out for days, and ends up hospitalized because of dehydration. And we've seen it in women. Like, it almost happens with that girl in Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. But we rarely see men emotionally devastated by a breakup. And it isn't just Egan. Both of them collapse in the face of their breakup. I didn't mind it because both of them were so devastated. It worked for me. This book is also incredibly spicy, which most hockey romances are. It was spicy in a way that I enjoyed. I liked watching the progression between these 2 men of I'm flirting, I'm interested, I'm curious, we've kissed, we've snuggled, we try out new things, and that progression that they go through as they explore each other. Rake is very clearly in this book an acts of service person, and he cares for Egan. And so it isn't just spice, it isn't just tutoring. They work well. A big part of this is also a shotgun wedding. Neither one of them are pregnant, don't you worry, but so many things that I normally scream, girl, no, you're so young, you're in college. I just kind of went with it. And this is my sexism coming into play. Another thing, I did not mind that Egan got the nickname baby. Did not bother me. Man to another man, totally fine. I apparently only mind the nickname baby when it is in reference to a woman. That's my sexism showing. And you know what? I will grapple with that on my own time. But if you are someone who loves hockey romances, you can't go wrong with this one. I did it, y'all. I read Unhinged by Vera Valentine. And there's no reason not to. I was expecting a lot worse from reviews of this story, this novella, when it came out. So I'm going to ruin this for you. If anyone that I'd seen a review of had mentioned that Zeus shows up, it would have been so much more believable. But I was led to believe it's just this random sentient door. No, it isn't. It's not that random. Zeus shows up. There's Greek myths. It makes a lot of sense. As much as anything with Zeus makes sense. So this is it's I think less than 100 pages. I read an e-version of it. But it also was believable to me that if you had a sentient door, the door could fall in love with the person who lived inside the apartment they were the door of. That is very believable to me. What I really had to suspend my disbelief on wasn't even was the fact that it only took one dream where the door shows up and is like, hey, I'm the door. I need to protect you from this stalker who's totally gonna kill you. For her to follow his directions and do the thing that makes him human, which is exactly what you think it might be if there's a door and a person without a phallus and they need to be intimate in order to make him a human and not a door. she does that. I'm shocked that it took one dream. There's nothing in my life that I had a dream about once and then I went and did it. Can we do this for a week? Can it be like every night for a week? And then she finally goes, fuck it. You know what? Apparently this is just what I want. But one time, it chooses the name Driss because of Idris Elba, which, you know what? Tana, you have good taste in men. Idris Elba's a good one. This door totally could be in love with her. I say he because the door identifies as male. This door has been watching her for months, if not years. But the fact that Tana, after less than 24 hours together, is like, oh, but I love you. I'm like, girl, slow down. I know he's a good boy. Read this quote to you. I'm going to tell you a secret, Driss. I have a weakness for big, strong men who do as they're told. Good boys who enjoy working for my praise. It makes me feel safe and protected. Do you know anyone like that? I mean, like, maybe he just fits her kink, so congratulations. But it's very short. It's weirdly believable. The minute you have Zeus in there, I was like, sure, that anyone who's read Greek mythology, you're like, you know what? No holes barred. There's no rhyme or reason for any of this. And there's an actual plot. There's an actual plot besides the spice. So that was... I got more than I bargained for, more than I expected. I would say go into it with zero expectations and then be pleasantly surprised. I was thrilled by it. I don't know if I'm going to read the balloon one though. I finally did this. I read Pucking Wild by Emily Rath. It is book 2 of the Jacksonville Ray series. Book 3 comes out this month, if it's September when you're watching this, because it's September when I'm recording this. This story is Tess and Ryan's story. I'm going to say the interconnected of these standalones is really too interconnected for you not to read Pucking Around, maybe even Pucking Ever After Volume 1 before Pucking Wild. They are that interconnected. Relationships from the first book play out even more here. This relationship starts in book 1, and the relationships that are going to be in Pucking Suite, this next book, are established in this story as well. So as much as they are standalones, they are, in my opinion, too interconnected to read them out of order. As I said, this is Tess and Ryan. It is an MF story, though Tess is bi and talks about her history with women as well. She has a terrible husband. They've been separated for 3 years, and she's only dated women in those 3 years, but a rumor about her and Ryan pops up, and he goes apeshit, threatens to ruin her, gets her suspended from the company where they both work. It's his mom's company. He's like a mommy's boy. And in order to escape that, Tess goes down to Jacksonville from Ohio and takes a job with Omari from the first book, running this charity that he is the money behind, essentially. This story happens because Ryan is injured. He's out with a knee injury. His apartment is full of stairs, and Rachel offers up Mars's house for him to stay in. It's 1 level. And Mars offers up his house for Tess to stay in as she's helping organize this foundation. So they end up both living in the same house accidentally and decide to stay there together to make their lives easier. In the first book, their chemistry is established, and we get to watch it play out in this book. Tess is so fun. She is an experimental lady. She has many toys, many quinks, and the experience and patience to work with Ryan on the things that he doesn't know. I love it. There is pegging in this book. There's pegging with an average-sized phallus. When she brought it out and they said 5 inches, I went, yes, that is the correct size. That is the correct size. I'm going to do a whole thing one day about my frustration with penis size in books, but you know what? Today is not that day because 5 inches is plenty, especially with a strap on. I loved it. And yes, this book has lots of spice. Pucking Around had lots of spice. But what I'm going to say about Emily Rath is her spice is human spice. These relationships play out in the way that they interact with each other in intimacy. It's not just insert tab A into slot B. There's conversation, there's check-ins, what I like, what I don't. No tickling, which was one of my favorite parts because I too hate tickling. Ugh. So unsexy to me. But that's a conversation that you have. And that's an important thing to know about your partner, that they're A, ticklish, and B, hate being tickled. You got to avoid that. There's a 15-page scene in this book, 15 pages, where no penetration happens, just oral, reciprocally. And I loved it. And it wasn't just steam, but it was watching these two build communication, build the relationship, and really respect each other. There's so much respect in this relationship. It is age gap. Tess is about 10 years older, and Ryan is a sweet cinnamon roll. His nickname is Puppy, which sounds really gross, but I never listened to it as gross, so I loved it. Like, keep Puppy coming, my sweet puppy. I adored it. And there's a lot of baggage that these two have separately. Tess clearly from her divorce, but also Ryan with his family, with his expectations, with what does he want, how does he express that. And I like them as humans. There are books and you're like, this was a nice happy ending, but I don't know if you'd go the distance. Like, I feel like these two would go the distance. Those kinds of relationships are the most exciting to me. One thing you should know about this book is she thick. Yeah, those are all of my tabs. All the pink are moments that I liked. So I liked a lot of things, but this is a commitment if you're going to start it. I think it's a worthwhile commitment, but y'all should know what you're getting into. This is going to be so short. I read Pucking Ever After Volume 2. There's a Volume 1 and Volume 2. There are plans for little volumes between every single major book in the Jacksonville Race series. These are short little vignette stories of characters from previous books. And there's no real rhyme or reason, I think, timing wise. In Volume 1, they mention the story in Volume 2, and you can kind of go back and forth, but you really do have to read the stories of both books to get this. If you love the Jacksonville Rays and you've read both Pucking Around and Pucking Wild, this is going to be a really fun return, or just continuation in my case, of these stories and of these characters. Sometimes I sometimes want to know what happens after the happily ever after. What does life look like for these couples, for these humans? What's the life that they're building together? And you get that in these two volumes. We see marriages, we see babies, we see relationships growing and evolving, hard conversations and beautiful conversations. Not every story, in fact, most of the stories here don't contain a ton of spice. It really is character driven, which tells you how much I like this book. I have it as a higher spice rating because it's a novella. There are 7 chapters, so even if only half of them have spice, that's 3 scenes of spice in less than 300 pages. That's a very high percentage of spice, even though not every story has spice. This is a world and this is a community that I've really enjoyed watching, and to see the next steps for both the people in Pucking Around and Pucking Wild continue to live their most beautiful life was a joy. And I'm very excited to see what happens in Pucking Sweet, the next book, because some of those characters are mentioned in these. I want to get their story already. Oh my goodness. I read Only for the Week by Natasha Bishop. I am sorry that it took me so long to get to this book. It was recommended to me back in February and I just kept pushing it off. I, for some reason, thought this was a billionaire romance, and don't get me wrong, it's not a person with no money romance, but it doesn't have that same lighting money on fire feeling that most billionaires do. We've got Janelle in Rome. Janelle's ex-boyfriend is marrying her sister. Let's just put that out there. And they're going to this destination wedding. Janelle is the maid of honor. Rome is the groom's best friend. And this wedding is a disaster. Her sister is being rude. Arnold is being rude. It is so high drama. And Janelle is just over the whole thing. Rome has been harboring a crush on Janelle since way back when. He finally feels like it's time and he has permission to pursue Janelle. And pursue. He does. They start hooking up. They're there in this island situation for about 2 weeks. And the first week is vacation. The second week is wedding shenanigans. So they start hooking up, and she tells him, I don't want anyone to know about us. We are only hooking up for this first week when fewer people are here and there's less of a chance that we can get caught. Only for the week, friends. It is not only for the week. Rome cares for her so much. And I don't just mean emotionally he cares about her. He cares for her. Janelle gives too much of herself to people around her. Her mother, her sister, just undeserving humans. Rome steps in and helps Janelle see that she is worth it. Her own mental well-being is worth it, and that she shouldn't have to take things from people who are undeserving and unrepentant. Something that I really appreciated is that at the end of this, her relationship with her mother and her relationship with her sister isn't magically healed. These are two people who have deeply wronged her, and she sets and holds boundaries about how they should treat her. That is an example that we should all take. If people are wronging us, we have permission to set boundaries and hold those boundaries. However those humans take it is not our business. They don't want to respect the boundaries. They do not deserve to be in our lives. And Janelle takes that lesson to heart, and we see it implemented throughout this book. Absolutely amazing. Rome also is an act of service. He steps up and shows Janelle with his actions that he's listening and that he cares for her. I'm going to reference it. The yacht scene. I don't know why some people had a problem with this. I loved it. Rome is wealthy. He owns a video game production company. Money is not a problem for him. And it's not like he rented like a $3 bajillion yacht and spent like $1 million. It was like $1,500, which is a sizable amount of money. I get it. But it isn't some of the grand gestures that we've seen in billionaire romances that are absolutely ungodly. This was $1,500 because he heard her say what she wanted most was to read by the water. And her sister has been such a bridezilla that she's been making them run errands all day, every day. And he says, nope, we're going to get you out of this. And he takes her to this yacht. And he's about to leave. He's like, you said you wanted to read by the water. I don't want to interrupt that. I'm going to let you have this because this is what you said you wanted. And I'm going to make sure you get that. Unbelievable. You say you want alone time. And this dude who's all about you and totally obsessed and all he wants to do is spend time to you actually finds caring for you more important and having your needs met. That is sexy. That is a partner right there. That is someone who puts your needs first, and not just the needs that they assume you need, the ones that you have said you need. That is a huge distinction. And when she recognizes this, she says, nope, I want you to stay with me. And they read romance novels together. Now, the thing about book boyfriends is it's aspirational. We want someone to put us first. We want someone to prioritize us. We want someone to listen to us. These are all things that you want in your real relationships. And having it play out on the page is fun, is a reminder that you deserve this. Especially if you're in the midst of shitty dating, read this book. This is going to remind you that you are worth it, that the partner you want is out there. Do not settle for less. Do not settle for less than what you deserve. Because Janelle deserves this man. Absolutely deserves this man. And this man deserves Janelle. They put each other first, and they are great together. Their communication is fun and flirty. Rome knows what he wants, and he is determined to get it by showing Janelle their connection is real. It isn't just an island hookup. It isn't just a vacation hookup. What they have is real. And he shows that to her with how he cares for her. And she recognizes that, not because he pushes her, not because he kidnaps her, but because he is a genuinely good person, and she can believe the connection they have because he proves it over and over again with his actions. That is romance. That is the magic of this book. And I am only sad that I slept on this story for as long as I did. So y'all go read this book. Can't stop fucking giggling when I start aliens. I am a PNR person. I've read some of the Creature Cafe books by Clio Evans, but I was able to find a copy of Cosmic Kiss. Aliens, friends, aliens. Aliens are new to me. I'm not gonna lie. I have read Ice Planet Barbarians, but In general, Aliens and I are a new pairing. But if you are a PNR person, I feel like Aliens are just the next logical step. This is an MMF romance. As I said, Aliens. We have Stella, Zin, and Taurus. No idea if I'm saying any of the names right. Doesn't matter. The fucking aliens. Zin is an alien with arms but two penises, and Taurus is an alien with tentacles and only one penis. I don't know why this is so funny to me. Werewolves, totally straight face. Pink glowing aliens. Absolutely can't keep it together. This is a fun story. There's a fated mate situation. They are all together. And it is a novella. Like, this thing is short. Stella is a burlesque dancer in this traveling troupe, and she literally falls onto these two. And they're like, wow, you're my mate. Oh my God, she's my mate. She can't be your mate. But the two alien men have a history, and so the three of them become a throuple situation, and it's great. There's also a side plot of sabotage for the dancers, and so they have to also find the person sabotaging and poisoning the dancers from the show and make sure that Stella doesn't get hurt. It's great. I am always here for an MMF romance. It's my personal preference. Put every single one that you have read in the comments because I want them all. If you are a tentacle person, there are tentacles in this story, but they're not like Shadow Daddy tentacles. They're just normal tentacles attached to an alien, which is super fun. What I liked about this alien romance is you get to suspend your disbelief and just be along for the ride. Oh my gosh, you're pink? Amazing. Oh my gosh, you're blue? Wonderful. You have fated mates? Let's go. Your tentacles are self-lubricating? Amazing. You are not beholden to the normal laws of nature, and you can just enjoy the ride, and ride they do in all the combinations thereof. There is something very comforting about the idea of a fated mate. And in a relationship where you have two aliens and a human, the men fall first. They fall first and they fall hard. And they admit, they're like, yeah, I mean, she's a human. She doesn't really get fated mates, even though she loves us. They're not as drawn to the mate as we are, we aliens. So they fall hard, they fall fast, and they both go, you know what? We're gonna build the life together. Whatever keeps us together, we'll do it. And I love that. There isn't this assumption that, well, I'm a prince or I'm a chancellor and I'm an alien, you're a human, you're going to give it all up for me. It's how are we going to build a life together? The only thing that I'm like, well, if you knew that she was your fated mate, but the two men are also fated mates, how did they not know they were each other's fated mate back in childhood when they met and they were friends? That's the only confusing part to me. But you know what? They work it out. It all works out. This is a series, the Galactic Gems series. Personally, just because I am a PNR person at heart, I want to finish the Creature Cafe series, which is so long. So if you were intrigued by this, but aliens are not your thing, go look at the Creature Cafe because that was definitely my thing. Ah, back safe in the land of PNR. Tentacles and Teeth by Rowan. Oh my goodness. Just look at this cover. It's like everything you need. You might not realize it is an FFM romance. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we have a shadow tentacle mommy here. Fucking shadow tentacles. God damn. The actual story is Katerina goes to this biker bar. She's looking for a one-night stand before a work trip the next day. And she meets the hot bartender whose name is Sid. Sid is a hot tentacle shadow mommy, and she and Katerina go home together and they have this crazy night. Sid has a roommate, Fen, who is a werewolf, and Fen's like, man, she smells so good. I think she's mine too. Let me just say that Fen comes home and smells what's going on in Sid's room and has his own little private party. Y'all, it's so great. Katerina is absolutely thrown by the fact that she wants both Sid and Fen. She's like, I've never done polyamory before. I love that it's called polyamory, but I've never done polyamory before. And what will my dear sensibilities do for me when I want both of you? Sid gets a lot more attention. I'm just going to put it out there. So if you were expecting a lot more M in this FFM romance, it's not. There's a lot more Sid than there is Fen. Katerina goes on her work trip and Sid and Fen are like, I mean, if you want to date her, it's fine. We're all totally cool with polyamory. It doesn't matter. They don't ever cross swords. Not that Sid has a sword, but they're not with each other. They're just with Katerina and sometimes together and sometimes separately. They both text while she's gone. They flirt. They have some fun via video chat. Then when Katerina comes back, they all get together. This thing is so spicy. It's so spicy. And there are tentacles, and there's a shifter, and there's some primal play, and there's some biting, and there's some magic, and everything that I want as a PNR person. This is so many great PNR things thrown together. I loved the queerness. I loved the comfort level. I loved the kink of it. I had so much fun with these three. You know, this was just the week of spicy novellas, of incredibly spicy novellas, and I am here for it. If you're looking for a very quick read that is spicy, that has some FFM action, I highly recommend this. There's a lot of teasing, there's a lot of play, there's a lot of communication, there's a good girl. That's it. There's no other plot than them getting together, and quite honestly, I didn't need any other. I didn't need it.